going out tonight. Try not to die.
The Watchers, directed by Ishana Shyamalan. This is a film that is adapted from a novel. It stars Dakota Fanning. We saw her last year in the Equalizer 3.
She had a very small role in that movie.
Very small.
They very quickly blew her up there, and she was like, "I'm in the hospital for the rest of the movie," and I'm like, "Okay."
I'm gone. So Dakota Fanning, she works for this animal care company that she has to take this bird up to some location that's in the woods. She tried to find herself out of this woods, and the woods just keep on getting weirder and weirder. She sees this lady in this thing that's trying to help her out because some weird things is happening in the woods, and they rush into this freaking building, and they're just locked into this little cubicle thing with two other people. Ishana Knight has a good camera eye when it comes to the way things look, the way the camera moves, but this was a boring movie. Okay.
Agreed. Actually, you know what? I wasn't bored. I was more frustrated. That was more the feeling I felt. But I do agree with you when you said that she's got a good eye. You can tell that she is a former assistant director for M. Night. She worked on Old, I believe. It's competently shot,
It's competently shot. And you see these huge mountain ranges that look great. But I'm just in the whole theater just doing this okay, these are all interesting things, but it feels like it's not executed right.
Yeah. So the movie, it has this central question, and it's, who are the Watchers? What do they want? What's going to happen? And the issue with the movie is I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? I don't care. And after the big reveal, they over-explain who the Watchers are to just an extreme degree, to the point where it becomes kind of silly and I'm my audience, there's giggling in my audience and stuff like that when they finally explain who the Watchers were. And I think the reason why I didn't care is because our director, like you said, is a first-time director, and she breaks a lot of basic rules. Rule number one, the most basic film rule, is you show, you don't tell. Yo, this movie has the lamest intermittent narration. And the narration hurts the movie. For example, there's a scene in the movie where Dakota Fanning has been locked in the woods for a long time, right? And the narration comes up and it's winter arrived and everything got hard. And it's why say that? Why not just show snow on the ground, right? Why say that? It made me think about The Last of Us, right? There's a scene in The Last of Us video game where winter came and everything got hard, right? How do they do that? They cut to snow on the ground, okay? And then a little rabbit comes in, boop, 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 and our main character shoots it. And she picks up the rabbit and she goes, and puts it down. And that's how you know things got hard. You know what I'm saying? Just show me, don't tell me. But this movie tells you everything, and it is a chore.
It really seemed like showing was not in the budget.
I guess not. By the way, where was any of the snow on the ground just in general? And I think that's why they had to say winter has come, because there's no way to tell that winter came. I also want to use this opportunity to stand on my very small soapbox and say no more narration. Movies, please. No more narration. If you're using narration in your movie, 90% of the time, you are effing up. No more words scrolling across the screen.
I was just about to say that.
It was dope in the 70s. It's boring and trite now. Words on the screen and narration, it's never been good. I think, and it's my own personal theory now, the only time to use it is when you're trying to be nostalgic. Maybe if you're doing some sort of a throwback to a film noir, or maybe you're doing Star Wars or something like that. You just want to reference something that came before, but it's always been clunky. It's always been bad. It's just bad filmmaking. I would say cut that out your movie. And I'll be honest, and maybe this is what happened in this film. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's what happened in this film. Most filmmakers know that. They know that narration and words on the screen suck. But your producers, sometimes they're like, I don't know if the audience really understands it. So they'll have people
treating us
explain
like we
things,
dumb.
over explain things, and it really just it really waters down your movie. Also, again, talk about visual storytelling. I could talk about this movie for a long time because it pissed me off with a lot of its bad visual storytelling. There's a character, and she's like, "How long have you been in the woods?" And he's like, 8 months. And I'm like, what? How? He doesn't have a beard. His hair is short and good to go. His clothes are clean.
He's been shaving and everything.
If you've been in the woods for 8 months, wouldn't you look like a man that's been living in the woods for 8 months? And not only that, he was out hunting. He didn't look like that. He looked like he'd been chilling on the sofa. So like there are things that just did not happen in this movie that would have helped tell the story without the narration.
Right. And this movie like had a direct halt when they were explaining the reveal of where these things come from.
There's a car crash in this movie, and this movie came to a car crash stop. Just like,
basically. All your main characters get trapped into the building again, but then they reveal that there's another passageway here, and they go down into this passageway. And there's a character that was talked about throughout the whole film that we see on a videotape. They're just like in Scream 4. If you've seen this video, I'm dead. And they're explaining the whole thing, just like that guy did in Scream.
A very similar thing happens in Barbarian, where they realize, oh, there's another room inside this room, you know? But the Barbarian gives you a reason why no one knew that room was there, right? That girl, she'd only been in the house for a few days, maybe, and there's a shelf in front of it. In this movie, I guess spoilers. In this movie, there's just like a very thin carpet over this door. You're telling me for months no one moved the carpet? The only carpet they've ever interacted with for nearly a year, no one moved it? I don't know. That just feels insane to me.
For the past 5 months, she was writing a map on the floor.
Yeah, she was. She was literally on the floor. What the heck? It's easy to like just be like taken out of this movie. So like in the movie, you said you didn't even like the movie. Was there a point in the movie where like the movie lost you?
When the Slender Men started showing up in the woods, and when I found out what they were, it drew me out.
Like it would be one thing if we found out the revealed some sort of a weakness. Like if they were vampires or something, you're like, oh, now we just need to go find a stake. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we need a wooden stake. Let's break some chairs. Now that changes things. But they're like, no, these people, they're fairies. And I'm like, so what does that do? Does that change something? Or
and then the slow down exposition when they're explaining all this and find all the clues of this, when they're like, they used to have sex with humans.
Yes, that's another thing.
Like, what?
They very explicitly were like, they used to live right alongside of us. We even used to bang. And I'm like, why add that? And then when the movie continues, and we're like, oh, okay, so this old lady is half watcher, half human, because her parents banged across species. She's like, and they called me the Daywalker. And I'm like, okay, I've seen that movie.
Blade.
Yeah. And you know what? You would think if you follow the movie's logic, right? Let's follow it. The Watchers or fairies used to live alongside humans until humans got distrustful and pushed them underground, and so they had to live in the ground for a millennia or something like that. But now they found a Watcher who or a fairy who can walk among the humans during the day. Shouldn't she be like a god or like a link to the past, something they would want, something that could help everyone? Why would she be a leper? I couldn't even follow the movie's own logic. Also, why are they watching? If they lived with humans for so long, they wouldn't need to really watch us. They should be like a lot of documentation on what a human looks like. At least at how many fingers they have, right? They were like, oh, sometimes they miscount the fingers. I'm like, they don't even know. That's like if you were drawing a dog and you added like 6 legs or something. Like, you wouldn't do that.
I see what the story was kind of like trying to say. Like, she has a twin, and then these things that are coming after them in the woods have the ability to mimic each other. And inside the actual room is a mirror and stuff. And I'm like, you see, it's showing all this imagery in this, but it just felt not right.
It felt hollow because it was meaningless, right? There's a really cool shot early in the movie where we see the Dakota Fanning in the mirror, and she puts her hair up in a ponytail, and she like ducks down, and then but her reflection stays in the mirror, right? It's like a very classic thing, right? And it's a very classic like in-camera illusion, and that's fun. That's cool. If I were making a movie, I would love to put that in my movie, but you have to have like a reason for all these mirrors. And I feel like she only had mirrors because they look dope. That's it. She was like, this shit right here look cold, but symbolically, it was hollow and meaningless. And you just sitting around asking yourself like, why? Why am I looking at this? What is this? Why are there 2 of them? It does look cool, but it doesn't add to the story and makes the movie feel long. Like you said, this is M. Night's daughter, so this is kind of like a Nepo baby movie. It feels like an M. Night movie. It looks like an M. Night movie. It operates like an M. Night movie. There's even like a big reveal towards the end that was meaningless and changed nothing at all. For a reveal to work, it should recolor the movie. And you should be like, oh, I thought I was watching movie A, when turns out I was watching movie B. But that's not what happens. It's just like, all along, this character was also a changeling. And it's like, no shit, I know one of them's a changeling. Like, okay, like, does that change anything? What did she do? Did she collecting their blood or something? Was this part of her plan the whole time? Has she been stalking her whole lot? No, no, just the coinky-dink, she's there. But one thing I thought was interesting and the most exciting part about this film was the opening. And in the opening, we see the classic New Line Cinema logo. And I was like, what? Wow. I hadn't seen that in years. I'm like, it just reminded me of like Ninja Turtles, reminded me of Blade, it reminded me of Freddy Krueger. I was like, wow, that's so cool. I thought I was in for a treat, baby. And I was not.
Right. And then something about, man, that film, you know, the little film thing when it comes out and stuff with the music, man. It reminds you of House Party. Because they did everything back in the day.
But I just like the nostalgia of seeing that old logo. That was cool. But that was also, unfortunately, the highlight of the movie for me. The rest of the movie was no good. And it sucked because this movie is like a folk horror film. And I like folk horror. That's fun. You know, a classic folk horror or new classic folk horror is Midsummer, right? So I like when we discover that these old, you know, folk tales that maybe your grandmother told were actually real. Like, that's fun. But again, the movie does not do a lot with it. So I imagine the book is probably fantastic, but the movie itself, it's very okay.
They want to put a TV in here and have like a little stupid show in there that's like the real world to make it seem like, look, the watchers
like Love
watching
Island or something. Yeah,
Love Island, some type of reality show that people are glued upon watching to see what humans do, you know, in a confined area.
If you follow that logic, right, would that make the viewer us the watcher? So does the movie think we're like monsters, or like I don't understand what the movie's trying to say. Are they trying to insult the audience? Are we monsters who only come out at night to watch a movie, you know what I'm saying, or to watch some shitty reality show? Like, I'm not sure what any of this was supposed to mean. It feels all the symbolism feels very muddled. If you think about the movie even just a little bit, I feel like it falls apart. So personally, I wouldn't recommend it for someone like a casual moviegoer. What about you?
Everyone who I would know that would go to the theaters, they want a big spectacle thing, and this is not going to fill that need.
It was kind of marketed like a horror film, but it's really not. It's more like a thriller. And that's me really pushing the word thriller. Like, I wasn't thrilled, but you know, I think that's what this is supposed to be.
Ishana does have like the camera moves of like a horror film, but it's not there.
Actually, that's a really good observation, because the last movie we saw, which was definitely a horror film, had no horror camera movements, no horror camera music, nothing. And yet I damn near shit myself in the theater, right? But for this one, it's got all the horror tropes, and yet like I couldn't have been more sleepy and tired and bored out of my life.
I think, like I said, it has that M. Night Shyamalan feel, right?
Does.
Because when I was watching it, I was like, this is gonna be a Villagers 2. The
Village,
The Village 2.
It kind of is though. You're like, you're like totally right. This very much is like The Village too, because there was like all this symbolism with the color. Like I remember in The Village, she had this like red hood and all that stuff, but in this one it's like yellow, and they're like in a stage, kind of like something that was faked. This very much is like The Village.
Yeah, because it's like she couldn't go out this type of perimeter stuff, and when you go inside this perimeter, and my thing is this. This movie also didn't explain why the electricity didn't work, but electricity worked inside that building, you know?
Well, he said he brought a generator, but like, does the movie not know how generators work? Because you gotta like add gas to it, right? So where's the gas coming from? I don't know. And it seems like the lights are on in the building like 24 hours. So like they got to be putting gas in it, right? Are they hunting for gas too? Which reminds me, there's a scene early in the film where, forgive me, I can't remember her name, but old girl from Barbarian, she's in the woods and she's in the woods and she's collecting flowers. And she's like, ooh, I collect this purple flower because it helps with headaches. And the movie gets all close on the flower. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to come back. It's going to come back. This girl knows what she's doing with flowers. She's some sort of horticulturalist. This has got to be important. No, it does not come back at all. The fact that they are foraging for like medicine and stuff in the woods, it's just a little fun fact, just for color. Like, and that is kind of this whole movie. Everything feels like it's for show, but it has no utility in the story, which can make the movie feel long. Also in the movie, talking about broken logic in the film, right? So there's a big reveal at the end of the film that they can get out of the woods if they just follow the birds. And when you know it, our main character happens to be holding a bird for a long time. I guess she's been feeding the bird. I don't know.
How does it survive? Okay, I'm sorry.
Great. These are awesome questions that I can't answer, and neither can our director. But in the movie, they're like, just follow the birds. Now, the movie shows the birds very explicitly all getting up at the same time and leaving in a big flock. And presumably they do this every night. Did they not ever think to follow birds? It seems like the most obvious thing in the world, especially if they were there for months. And they even kind of said early on, they kind of hinted early on that our characters have become really close to the land. You know, like I said, they're finding flowers, they're hunting in the woods. So wouldn't they be like, hey, how come the birds always dip just before the watchers come? And where do they go? I don't know. I feel like your logic would get you out of these woods and not necessarily like some random tape they found literally under the carpet.
And why couldn't her car start back up? Why did it all just die?
It's another thing too. So the woods, I guess, are magic, and they seem to be attracting, I think they said like lonely people or hurt people or damaged people or something like that into the woods. Why? Were the fairies spreading some sort of magic in the woods? Because they're stuck. I'm guessing the fairies want to get out. So why pull people in? I didn't understand that. And if they had magic, how come they didn't use their magic to get the people out of the building? I don't know. The movie just absolutely falls apart the more you think about it.
If this film like came out in January, you'd probably do better in the theaters in January. But putting it smack dab in the middle of the year, and you had other stuff like, you know, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes that came before. It seems very odd to put it here. You know?
Really does, because it's not a spectacle film, right? Like you said, you mentioned Planet of the Apes. This doesn't feel anything like Planet of the Apes. I can't even get into the storytelling stuff. We're not at that point yet. But like just like the spectacle, the thing that's supposed to draw people in the film, this is an odd time to put this movie out. Like in the summer. I think this is definitely a January movie, 100%.
Or fall film, like closer to like maybe. October.
Yeah. But to have it in the summer, it's like an odd choice for that. I don't know if this is true, so I'm gonna dip into some rumors here. But supposedly M. Night was on set for almost every day of shooting. this movie. I'm not trying to say his daughter didn't shoot this. Okay, I'm not trying to say that, but I am trying to say his signature is all on this film.
But hey, you know, I didn't really care for this film. Devin, obviously, you didn't really care for this film. But more importantly, how did you feel about this film? Please get in the comments and let us know what you thought of The Watchers. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. We really appreciate you guys for clicking on it, man. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers. And if you are new to seeing our faces, please hit that subscribe button right at the bottom. It'll do you some good, okay? And if you did like this review for this film, please hit the thumbs up, all right? Or you can hit that thumbs down, whichever you choose. It is your opinion, but just remember one thing. It is mostly wrong. We'll see you in another movie review. Don't get lost in the woods. Don't do it.